ከስምምነት ወደ ተግባር ብዝሃ ሕይወትን ወደ ቀድሞ ይዞታው መመለስ from agreement to action build back biodiversity ይህ የዘንድሮ የብዝሃ ሕይወት ቀን መሪ ቃል ነው። እንኳን አደረሰን እንኳን አደረሳችሁ። ዘንድሮ ይህ የብዝሃ ሕይወት ቀን በፈርስት ኢንተርናሽናል ኮንፈረንስ ኦን ባዮዳይቨርሲቲ ኮንዘርቬሽን ኤንድ ኢኮሲስተም ማኔጅመንት ኦፖርቹኒቲስ ኤንድ ቻሌንጅስ በሚል ብዝሃ ሕይወት የኢትዮጵያ ብዝሃ ሕይወት ኢንስቲትዩት ለመጀመሪያ ጊዜ ዓለም አቀፍ ኮንፈረንስን አዘጋጅቶ ይህ በዓል ታስቦ ብሏል። በዓሉም በርካታ መንግስታዊ ያልሆኑ እንዲሁም አርሶ አደሮችና በርካታ የዩኒቨርሲቲ ምሁራን ተገኝተውበታል። ብዙ የመማማሪያ መድረክም ሆኖ አልፏል። በዓሉ በመቀጠልም አመቱ ሙሉ በዚህ መሪ ቃል በርካታ ስራዎችን በመተግበር እየተከናወነ ይዘልቃል ማለት ነው።
EBI is very much grateful to all of you for your positive response for coming to attend this international event as per the invitation we extended. We are very much pleased that the honorable members of the Agricultural Standing Committee of House of Representatives, Mr. Altaneh Fakadu, representative of the State Minister for Agriculture, executives of public and private institutions and development partners, university professors, researchers, community representatives, and EBI staff are in attendance of this event. Thank you all very much once again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to mark the International Day of Biodiversity under the motto From Agreement to Action, Build Back Biodiversity. It is a tradition of marking the day among the family members of the CBD since observing the day was started in 2002. Two important messages that call for careful attention are embedded in the current year's slogan. That means from agreement to action, build back biodiversity. The first segment of the motto reminds us about the recently held conference of parties which took place in Montreal, Canada, and ended with important decisions. The 15th conference of parties to the CBD, which is shortened as CBD COP15, was held after a significant delay because of COVID-19 pandemic that even forced changing the venue from Kunming, China to Montreal, Canada. Though parties had to go through tough negotiations, they finally reached an agreement and endorsed the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, which is shortened as GBF 2020. The framework consists of goals and targets that require exerting relentless effort by all concerned entities. It is because of this reason that the segment of the motto From Agreement to Action is coined. The motto will therefore constantly remind us about our responsibility throughout the entire year. The second segment of the motto reads as Build Back Biodiversity, can be taken as an outcome of keeping promises by translating agreements into action and thereby restoring biodiversity and ecosystem services. As we all know, biological diversity and associated knowledge are confronted with a serious threat of erosion. The problem is worse in countries like Ethiopia, where the lives of people are intimately linked to biodiversity and where the economy relies on biological and environmental resources. Taking the case of Ethiopia specifically, we are among the few countries of the world rich in biodiversity wealth. Nevertheless, we are losing the resource in all its forms at alarming rate. Since I assume that speakers who come next will deal with the issue, I don't want to go into the details. However, what I want to stress, in line with the motto of the International Day, is that we need to do our level best to restore at least threatened species, habitats and biodiversity if full recovery is not possible. The Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute, being a primary entity in charge of the conservation and sustainable utilization of biodiversity, and due to its role as a focal point to the Convention on Biological Diversity, has been engaged in a multitude of activities that pertain to biological diversity. One such area of operation is engaging in conservation-related promotion activities that aim at raising awareness among the public. Accordingly, organizing events like the celebration of the International Day of Biodiversity is one of the undertakings which the Institute executes. What makes this year's event different from those of the previous years, however, is that it is accompanied by an international conference and the fact that stakeholders from across different sectors are in attendance. Side events, including poster sessions and displays by EBI directorates, are also expected to add color to the event. We managed to organize this event with the support from different individuals and institutions, and hence I would like to acknowledge their contribution. In connection to this, we are especially grateful to those who have volunteered to present their scientific research findings in the first international conference, which we are holding as part of the International Biodiversity Day celebration. The Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute, Global Green Growth Institute, Horn of Africa, Regional Environment Center and Network, and Pelham Ethiopia Consortium have financially supported the organization of the event, and we express our heartfelt thanks to them. We highly value our key stakeholders that are represented by delegates in attendance of this meeting, and hence we are thankful to all of you for giving priority to celebrating biodiversity amidst your busy schedules. Last but not least, I would like to thank and congratulate my colleagues at the Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute for organizing this important event.
Your Excellencies, the House of People Representatives, Agriculture and Rural Development Standing Committee members, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to have the privilege to speak at this special occasion here. Honorable representatives from across sectors gathered to mark the International Day of Biodiversity. Biodiversity is acknowledged to form the foundation of the achievement of 80% of the sustainable development goals, providing essential ecosystem services, and hence its loss will jeopardize achievement of the aspired objectives. In general terms, biodiversity and nature contribution to people are essential for good quality of life. As the CBD COP15 held from 7 to 19 December 2022 in the Montreal, Canada, Ethiopia played its part in contributing to the process of intergovernmental event, which was coincided by the adopting the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is an enormous challenge to achieve indeed. We also need to be mindful of other quality challenging targets like those that pertain to resource mobilization, community knowledge protection, and benefit sharing. In line with this, we need to strive to keep our promise and work hard to live up to expectations. Our promising past experience with the regard to meeting such biodiversity conservation-related commitment gives us hope and encouragement to plan and engage in future undertakings directed towards aspired objectives. As reported in the 5th Global Biodiversity Outlook, GBO5, the achievement of global biodiversity targets from 2011 to 2020 was far below average at 23%, while Ethiopia managed to attain 56% in its implementation of the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. With this in mind, we will embark on the major undertaking, formulation of the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, soon. A proper formulation of the strategic document will definitely constitute a stepping stone toward achieving what is aspired through the adoption of the GBF post-2020. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to underline at this juncture is that the task of developing the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan from 2023 to 2030 is not something to be left either to the Ethiopian Diversity Conservation Institute or Ministry of Agriculture. Indeed, it requires a holistic contribution by stakeholders, since biodiversity conservation is a multi-spectral issue that calls for involvement of role players from across all sectors and at all levels. It is therefore my firm belief that participants of this gathering at personal and institutional level, and those stakeholders which could not attend this event for one reason or another, will contribute to the successful completion of the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan from 2023 to 30. Furthermore, I would like to express our commitment to support and guide the whole process of the strategy development. Needless to say, the Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute will contribute the designing of National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan and its subsequent implementation. Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am aware that statements by partners, keynote speech will be delivered, and scientific papers focusing on different themes will be presented. Hoping that issues to be addressed through those presentations will contribute to acquiring insight on the day's agenda. I ask for your active involvement in the discussions. I am grateful to those who have come to this meeting with their scholarly contribution, all the participants who gave priority for celebrating biodiversity and initiatives that supported the organization of event financially. Last but not least, I would like to thank and congratulate the Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute for organizing this important event. As a final remark, I would like to say that once we lose biodiversity, we lose ourselves. I repeat, once we lose biodiversity, we lose ourselves and the sustainability of the earth. Thus, let us join hands and work towards the conservation of objective. Let us proceed from agreement to action and build back biodiversity. With this, I declare that the event is officially open. Thank you.
Excellencies, colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank you for inviting the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, to take part in this important event to commemorate the International Day for Biodiversity, and also to take part in this first international conference on biodiversity conservation and ecosystem management in Ethiopia. Congratulations. My name is Frederica Spano. I am Environmental Outreach Officer at UNEP's Liaison Africa and to Ethiopia. And let me begin with saying that although every Biodiversity Day carries its own significance, this year brings with it a renewed sense of hope with the adoption of the Global Biodiversity Framework at CBD COP15. And now that the world has this global framework, the focus must quickly shift to its implementation. This global framework is now our plan to prevent, halt, and reverse the loss of biodiversity worldwide, and also to repair ecosystems. But with only 7 years to implement the framework, we must act now. And with that said, UNEP is looking forward to strengthening its partnership with Ethiopia Biodiversity Institute and also continuing its collaboration with the government of Ethiopia to continue to leverage resources and support for current and future biodiversity and ecosystem restoration initiatives in the country and also in the wider region. And as I also stressed last week at the event on the Green Legacy Initiative of Ethiopia, I think it's good to echo it again that only with healthy environment and ecosystems can we enhance people's livelihoods, counteract climate change, and stop the loss of biodiversity. And against this backdrop, let me please introduce a video statement by Mr. David Cooper, who is the acting Secretary Executive of the Convention of Biological Diversity, which Secretariat also operates under United Nations Environment Programme. Thank you so much, and I wish you a successful event.
Excellencies, partners, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It is a great honor for me to join you today on behalf of UNDP as we commemorate International Biodiversity Day. I warmly commend the Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute for bringing us all together for this important conference to tackle global issues with a professional national impact. UNDP has been honored to be partnered with the Ethiopian Biodiversity Institute for several years as part of our wider support for sustainable intervention in the area of climate change and environment. Let me assure you that this is an area of partnership that we will continue to value. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, biodiversity is not about sentimentality. It underpins all aspects of our existence and accounts for more than 50% of jobs, livelihoods across the globe. Unfortunately, biodiversity is also under huge threat globally, regionally, and locally due to both human and nature-induced factors. Jeopardizing biodiversity means we threaten our food, our health, our livelihoods. When we lose biodiversity, we lose our peace and humanity. Ethiopia is, as mentioned earlier, one of the world's mega biodiversity and biodiversity hotspot countries, and it is currently facing serious environmental degradation, affecting its biodiversity and ecosystem. Some of the major causes include growing population pressure on natural resources and climate change. The COP15 CPD decision agreement guided us to tackle and to take proper attention and action in the context of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework among parties. We have the evidence that conservation works, and we have the knowledge needed to take transformative action, underpinned by sound science, supported by evidence policies, and translated into smart intervention measures by the public and the private sector, ensuring that women and youth also be actively engaged in. As this year's International Biodiversity theme urges all of us, let us go from agreement into action and build back our biodiversity. Thank you for your attention.
ግሎባል ሆትስፖት ሲባል ትልቁ ነገር የኢንደሚክ የብርቅዬ እጽዋትና እንስሳት መብዛት ሳይሆን 30% የሆነው መልክዓ ምድሩ የተጎዳ ነው። ስለዚህ የኛ ተግዳሮት ምንድነው? ብዙ ብርቅዬ እጽዋትና እንስሳት አሉ፣ 30% እየጠፋ ነው። ባዮዳይቨርሲቲያችን እየጠፋ ነው። ስለዚህ እንደዚህ በምናደርግበት ጊዜ ችግር ውስጥ አለን ማለት ነው። ኢትዮጵያ ከ20 ሜጋ ዳይቨርስ ተብለው ከተጠቀሱት ሀገሮች አንዷ ነው። ይሄም የሆነው በጣም ብዙ የሆነ ብዝሃ ሕይወት ስላለ እና በብዝሃ ሕይወቱ ውስጥ ያው ባዮዳይቨርሲቲ ስንል ከዘረመል ከዝርያዎችና ኢኮሲስተም አንድ ላይ የያዘ ስለሆነ የዚህ ሁሉ ባለቤት ነች ኢትዮጵያ።
How? For instance, if we see between now and between 2050, for instance, for over the next 30 years, what would happen under business as usual scenario in relation to our biodiversity resources? If we follow business as usual scenario, there will be prevalence of pests and diseases. Prevalence of pests and diseases because of climate change will be aggravated and will be rampant if we follow business as usual scenario. The other thing is our landscape, forestry landscape, agricultural landscape will be degraded. The current degradation level will be aggravated. The other thing is loss of biodiversity resources will be also too much challenging in a complex or damaging or devastating. And also ecosystem services that are currently benefiting, because our country economy is totally largely dependent on ecosystem services that we are getting from nature. That will also be another issue, challenging issue. And also food and the nutrition security efforts will be jeopardized. So in this regard, it is important and mandatory to follow climate smart pathway. It's not an optional, it is mandatory. There is a sense of urgency to transition to climate smart pathway.
As you all know, many countries have had the national biodiversity strategic action plans, and basically to achieve these key targets. But when you read through the literature, you don't really find so much of success stories in this regard. So in one way or another, I think the global community somehow failed to meet these targets that have been said to be achieved by the end of 2020. So this brings us to the post-2020 biodiversity, global biodiversity framework. But one of the gaps I think that was realized is, do we have sufficient knowledge? Do we know our resources? Do we know the state and trend of these resources at national, regional, global level? So unless we make this knowledge available, how can policymakers make decisions, important decisions to reverse the trend?
ትኩረት ሰጥተን እንድንሰራ የሚያስገደው በአብዛኛው ዘላቂ መሆን ስላለበት ቤት አካባቢ የሆምስቴድ ወይም ደግሞ ሆም ጋርደን በሚለው አካባቢ ትኩረት ከተሰጠው የግድ ቤት ያለውን ስራ እና የገበሬዎች ተጠቃሚነት እያሻሻለ በሚሄድበት ጊዜ ይሄ ይሻላል እያሉ ውጭ የማውጣትና ከዛ ውጭ ያሉ ማሳዎቻቸውን ትኩረት እንዲሰጡበት የሚያደርግ አካሄድ ነው የሚኖረው። በአብዛኛው ገበሬዎች ደግሞ እርስ በርሳቸው የእውቀት ግብይት እንዲኖራቸው ማድረጉ ትልቅ ቦታ የሚሰጠው ነው። እነዚህ ፕሮጀክቶቻችን ናቸው። በአብዛኛው አግሮ ኢኮሎጂ ወይም ስነ ምህዳራዊ ግብርና ነክ የሆኑትን የስራ አካባቢዎች ላይ ትኩረት እንሰጣለን። እዚህ ላይ በአብዛኛው እንደ አካሄድ የምንከተለው አሁን እንደነገርኳችሁ ነው። ቤቶች አካባቢ ያለውን ስራ ማሻሻል ከተቻለ ገበሬዎች በአብዛኛው ጊዜ ተጠቃሚነታቸው ከፍ ይላል። ገበሬም ሆነ የከተማ ግብርና በአብዛኛው ጊዜ ቤት አካባቢ ከሆነ ለእናቶችና ለህፃናት፣ ለደካማ እና አቅም ለሌላቸው በአብዛኛው ወይም ደግሞ መስራት የማይችሉ የዲስኤብል ለማለት ስለቸገረኝ ነው እና በአብዛኛው ጊዜ አይነቶች ይበዛሉ ቤት አካባቢና የህብረተሰቡ ተጠቃሚነት እየተሻለ የሚሄድበት እድል አለ። አማራጮች ይሰፋሉ። ከዛ ቤት አካባቢ ያለውን ጤናማ የምግብ ስርዓት በሚሆንበት ጊዜ ወደ ውጭ የመውጣት እድሉ ሰፋ ይላል። ምሳሌዎች ናቸው እነዚህ። በአብዛኛው በፎቶ ስታዩት ይሄ የሎደ ሂጦሳ እዚህ አርሲ ላይ አንድ ገበሬ ቤት ነው። ስለዚህ ግቢው አካባቢ ይሄን ያህል መሆን ከቻለ እዛ ያለው ከመሬቱ የሚገኘው በአብዛኛው ሁሉም ይሳተፍበታል። በአብዛኛው የሴቶች ፈጻሚነትና ወሳኝነት እየተሻለ የሚሄድ መሆኑ ማሳያ አንዱ ምልክት ነው።
ነባር ዝርያ በመንግስት አመራሮች እዚህ ውስጥ አላቸው። በመንግስት ፖሊሲ ውስጥ በደንብ አልታዩም። ምርጥ ዘር ላይ ነው ውጫቸው። አሁን ዛሬ የግብርና ሰራተኛ በየገጠሩ ምርጥ ዘር ነው ብሎ ነባር ዘር የሚል የለም። ስለዚህ ባካችሁ ከምጠፋብን ብንጠብቀው ይሻላል። ምርጥ ዘሩን በአንድ ጎን፣ ነባር ዘሩን በአንድ ጎን ጠብቀን ብንሻገር ልጁ ጉድፈቻ ከመውሰድ የወለዱትን ልጅ ማሳደግ ይሻላል።
እንደዚህ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎችን፣ ምርምር ተቋማትን፣ የልማት አጋሮችን ሰብሰብ አድርጎ ወደ አንድ ፕላትፎርም አምጥቶ 2 ቀን በጣም ኢሜዲኬት የሆነ ውይይት ሀገርን ህዝብን ሊጠቅም የሚችል ስራ በመሰራቱ እና ወደ አንድ መድረክ በመምጣታችን የብዝሃ ሕይወት ችግርን በውስጣችን ፔን ተሰምቶን እጅ ለእጅ ተያይዘን ለመስራት የሚያስችል መድረክ በማዘጋጀቱ አንድ ጊዜ ለብዝሃ ሕይወት ይገባቸዋል የሚል ነገር ነው ያለኝ። ከዛ ውጭ የቀረቡ የጥናትና ምርምር ስራዎች በጣም የሚጠቅሙ በጣም በሳል የሆኑ ተመራማሪዎች እንደዚሁም ደግሞ ወጣት ተመራማሪዎች ወደፊት የዚችን ሀገር እጣ ፋንታ ሊወስኑ የሚችሉ ወጣት ተመራማሪዎችን ጭምር የተገኙበት ስራቸውን ያቀረቡበት እንደዚሁም ደግሞ መሬት ላይ ወርዶ ተባብረን ተቀናይተን መሬት ላይ ካወረድ ነው ውጤት ሊያመጡ የሚችሉ ከብዝሃ ሕይወት አልፎ ለሀገርም ጭምር የራሳቸውን አሻራ ሊያኖር የሚችል ስራ ሰርቶ አቅርበዋል። በጣም መርጅንግ የሆኑ ታይትሎችን ለማየት እድል አግኝቻለሁ። ስለዚህ እነዚህን እጅ ለእጅ ተያይዘን ሰብሰብ ብለን መሬት ላይ አወርደን የተወሰነ ነገር ያው ጥናትና ምርምር ብዙ ጊዜ ይሰራል፣ ግን በቃ ሸልፍ ላይ ሆኖ ኦብሶሌት ያደርጋል። ይሄኛው ኢሹ ደግሞ ኦብሶሌት የሚያደርግ ነገር አይደለም። ከአንዳንድ ተመራማሪዎች እንደተነሳው የዚችን አገር እጣ ፋንታ ይወስናል ብሎ ያመጡት ሀሳብ በጣም ኖብል። ይህንን ተቀብለን ሁላችንም ማድረግ የሚገባን ነገር አድርገን መሬት ላይ አወርደን የህዝባችን ሕይወት ኢትዮጵያ በጣም ትልቅ ሀብት ያላት ሀገር ናት፣ ግን ሀብቷን በአግባቡ አልተጠቀምንም። ከዚህም የተነሳ በድህነት ቀለበት በጦርነት ቀለበት ውስጥ ነው ረጅም ጊዜ ያሳለፍነው። ከዚህ ቀለበት መውጣት አለብንና እነዚህ የቀረቡ የጥናትና ምርምር ስራዎች ወደ አክሽን ፕላን ተቀይረው ወደ ታች ወርዶ አርሶ አደሩ ጋር አርብቶ አደሩ ጋር ወርዶ መሬት ነክቶ ሕይወትና እስትንፋስ ያለውን ጥቅም ማኖር አለባቸውና ከሸልፍ ወደ መሬት መውረድ አለባቸው የሚል ሀሳብ ነው ያለው። ከዛ ውጪ የዚህ የናሽናል ኢኮሲስተም አሰስመንት ፕሮጀክቱ በጣም ትልቅ ለዚች ሀገር እምርታ ይዞ ይመጣል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ሮድ ማፕ ነው። እንደዚሁም ተቀናጅተና ተናበም ከሰራን 4 ዓመት ላይ ጥሩ ነገር ያለው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ለሀገርም በዛው ልክ ውጤት የሚያመጣ ነገር መሬት ላይ ወርዶ ያመጣል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ሞቶም በጣም ቆንጆ ነው። ከስምምነት ወደ ተግባር ብዝሃ ሕይወትን ወደ ነበረበት እንመለስ ተብሎ ሞቶ የተቀመጠው በራሱ የሚያነሳሳና ቁጭትን በውስጥ የሚያኖር ነው። ስለዚህ ሁሉም እዚህ ዛሬ የተሳተፍን ሰዎች ይህንን ሞቶን ጠብቀን ከኛ የሚጠበቀውን ነገር አድርገን ሀገራችን እንድትጠቀም ማድረግ፣ ህዝባችን እንዲጠቀም ማድረግ፣ ከድህነት ቀለበትና አዙሪት ውስጥ የምንወጣበት ጊዜ ይሆናል ብዬ አስባለሁና ይሄ አሰስመንት ፕሮጀክቱ ለእኛ ትልቅ ስንቅ፣ ሁሉንም ሊያግዙን የሚችሉ አካላትን ወደ አንድ መድረክ የሚያመጣ ስለሆነ እሱን በአግባቡ እንጠቀም፣ እንቀናጅ፣ ወደ ተግባር እንቀይር የሚል ነገር አንስቼ በጣም መሰረታዊ የሆኑ ጉዳዮች እዚህ ቤት ላይ ሲነሱ ነበር። አንደኛው የኛን የሆነ ጄኔቲክ ሀብታችን እንጠብቅ። እኛ እንኳን በእኛ እድሜ የምናውቃቸው ሰብሎችን ብዙዎችን አጥተናል። በቆሎ ቢባል በጣም ድንቅ የሆነ መልኩ ምኑ በጣም የተለየ አሁን በሃይብሪድ ቫራይቲ በሙሉ ተተክቶ እየጠፋ ያለበት ሁኔታ ነው። ሌሎችም እንስሳትም እጽዋትም በዚህ ልክ እየጠፋ ያለበት ሁኔታ ስላለ መመለስ፣ ወደ ቤታችን መመለስ የተባለውን ነገር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎችም ተመራማሪዎችም ራይት ተቋማትም በዚህ ላይ መስራት አለብን፣ መጠበቅ አለብን። መጠበቅ ብቻውን ደግሞ ከድህነት ቀለበት ውስጥ አያወጣም። ስለዚህ ህዝቡ የሚጠቀምበትን የስራ ዕድል የሚፈጥርበት ለወጣቶች የስራ ዕድል ለሴቶች የስራ ዕድል የሚፈጥርበት ሁኔታ በጥናታችሁም ጭምር አድሬስ እየተደረገ በመንግስት በትልቁ እቅድ ውስጥ እየታየ ከዛ እየተመረዘረ ወደ መሬት እየወረደ ተጠቃሚ ማድረግ አለብን፣ መጠበቅ አለብን። የሚጠቀምበትን ዕድል መስጠት አለብን። መጠበቅና መጠቀም የአካባቢን ዕውቀት ሪስፔክት ማድረግ ለአካባቢ ኤልደሮች ቅድሚያ መስጠት እነሱም ማዳመጥ ከነሱ የሚገኙ ነገሮችን መሰነድ ጠቃሚ ስለሆነ እነዚህ ሁለት ጉዳዮች አንድ ላይ ተያይዘው መሄድ አለባቸው። ቅንጅቶች በጣም መጠናከር አለባቸው። ለልማት አጋሮች አሁን የጀመራችሁትን ትብብር መቀናጀት መደገፍ ፋይናንሻሊ ቴክኒካሊ እንደዚህ በጣም ለስራው ትኩረት ሰጥቶ ከሚሰራ ተቋም ጋር መስራት ውጤቱ ያማረ ነው የሚሆነው። እኛ ላይቭ ዊትነስ ህዝብ ተወካዮች ምክር ቤት የግብርና ጉዳዮች ቋሚ ኮሚቴ የባዮዳይቨርሲቲ ስራን በቅርበት እንከታተላለን፣ እንደጋገፋለን። ከኦቨርሳይት ስራችን ወጥተን ተቀራርበን እንሰራለን። ስለዚህ በእናንተ በኩል የሚፈሱ ሀብቶች በትክክል መሬት ላይ ወርደው ውጤት እያመጡ መሆኑን በመስክም በቢሮ ደረጃ ውጤት እየተመዘገበ ነው ያለው። ስለዚህ ባዮዳይቨርሲቲ ለሚመጣው ትውልድ የሚሰራ ተቋም ነው። ዛሬ ለብላ ነገ የፈለገ ይሁን የሚል ተቋም አይደለም። ለሚመጣው ለሴንቸሪ ከዛም ባለፈ የሚሰራ ተቋም ስለሆነ በዚህ ልክ ተቋሙም ኃላፊነትና ተጠያቂነትም ተሰምቶት የአመራር ኮሚትመንትና የባለሙያዎችን ኮሚትመንት ቅድም በሚገለጸው አት ሩም ቴምፕሬቸር 20 ላይ 10 ላይ ሰርቶ ውጤት የሚያመጣ ባለሙያም አመራርም ያለበት ተቋም ስለሆነ ድጋፋችሁ ተጠናክሮ ይቀጥል። ሁላችንም በምንም አጥር ሳንገደብ ለሀገራችን እጅ ለእጅ ተያይዘን እንስራ እላለሁ። ፈጣሪ ኢትዮጵያን አብዝቶ ይባርካት። እጅግ አድርጌ አመሰግናለሁ። ታንኪዩ